Oh,
Hello. Okay, you're on.
all right, here we go. Let's see if I can set that there. Great. Is that good?
Yes. Awesome. So I think we got this live going with no audio problems. Awesome. So thank you guys for joining us today on another Masturbation Month edition. And I'm so excited, so excited. I've been following Amina for some time and I love her. And so finally we get to talk together in this magical month of May for Masturbation Month. And so um, for my people who don't know you, can you tell us a little bit about yourself, Amina?
Sure thing. Well, let me see. I'm just trying to set this up so I'm not moving that around. Okay, there we go. So I am Amina. I'm the founder. I think I have a little feedback happening, and I think it's coming from my computer. Hold on, let me figure it.
Okay. Yeah.
Can you? Oh no, that's not it.
You just turn one of them down really low. Either.
Just yeah, I need to turn. That's what I was doing wrong.
All right. Yeah, the beginning of my lives are always getting the feedback straight, getting it under control. The whole thing of
Okay.
using a cell phone and computer at the same time.
It's a
All
lot of
right, and you're
things.
looking amazing, Amina. Let me just say that.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome.
So you are always glowing. I think it's something to do with the water and being close to it. But you are always just vibrant.
Thank you. It's because I have a lot of orgasms.
That, that
That
part.
in addition
That's
to the
it.
water.
Yes. This is weird. What's happening, I realize now with this sound is it's talking into the microphone and giving me feedback as well.
Oh, okay.
Is that better? Oh, wait, now my mic is muted. Of course it's muted. Unmute my mic. Is that better?
Sounds good here. How does it sound to you guys? People who are coming on, give us a hello. Let us know
Yeah,
if
let
the
me
sound
know if
sounds
the
great.
sound is good because I want to make sure that we're clear,
Yeah.
that y'all can hear me well. I can hear you better now this way.
Okay.
I don't know what was happening, but it was coming through no matter what I did. And I'm not, listen, I need a technology bay. Anyway, so I'm Amina and I am the director of the Atlanta Institute of Tantra and Divine Sexuality. I am currently in Hawaii, but I've been working in the Tantra field, if you will, for about, I guess it's been a little somewhere close in between 12 and 15 years, depending on when you're looking at when I started and when I actually really started practicing. But I am now at a point where I am teaching and practicing and able to live fully in this practice. And so that's kind of me in a nutshell. I mean, I'm sure you're going to ask some questions to get to know more, but I've been in Atlanta for 3 years. My practice based there. And I'm just, yeah, that's it. That's all I got so far.
So far, but I know it's gonna get juicy. So real quick, there is a little echo on your end when you're talking. And Tiffany says, "Come on, Atlanta." So Tiffany, you're in Atlanta. You're gonna have to connect to Amina there when she's there. Yeah, Atlanta. Let me tell you, I love Atlanta. So I have been to Atlanta and I've done a couple of workshops. And I love the people. The people in Atlanta be representing. I did a tantric massage course there as well. Great, great, great. So let's see how it
So
sounds.
I see where the echo, I don't know. Hold on, I'm gonna jump off
I
this
think it's
phone
better.
and jump back in. Is it better?
Yeah, I think it's better now.
Okay, I think there's still a bit of some drama going on that phone because it's a Pixel.
Oh, I have a Pixel as well.
I don't know why it's acting so weird today, but let me see if I can do it on here. Let's see what happens.
Okay.
If I jump in this way, I'm gonna jump out and jump back in, okay?
Okay. All right. Hey, KP. Hello, people who are joining. I'm so excited. Hi, Trudy. So listen, while she's jumping off and jumping back in on Instagram, I want you guys to be ready with your questions, what you have, like what your thoughts are on sexuality, masturbation. So really what I wanted to do for this month of May is just bring in some amazing people, amazing sisters who work with sexuality, because it's really important to be able to have discussions on sexuality, have these discussions that we did not have in school, that some of us didn't have with our parents, and just really take the taboo out of sexuality, because it's just so many of us, I have so many clients who are like, I can't talk to even friends about sex and sexuality or what's going on with me, what I'm feeling, you know? And so I really, really, this month, I really wanted to make um, just a big like statement with, okay, let's talk about sex. Remember that? Let's talk about sex.
Let's talk about sex. Let's talk about
Yeah,
you.
so let's talk about sex. I
Yeah.
mean, there's nothing wrong about with it. Let's get rid of this taboo. So, all right, I
Okay.
think it sounds much better. So, how did
Yes.
you actually get into this line of work? Like, what happened? What made you like, how did you start working with sexuality?
That's always a interesting story because it goes back like teens because I was 19, 20 when I first started, and for context, I'm in my 40s now, so that's a bit of a journey. I started off by answering an ad in a Chicago newspaper to work as a sex surrogate, and so that was in like 96, that time of my life, and 96, 97, right around then. And I started working with Dr. Dean Dow, the father of sex surrogacy in the West, or that who's known as that, one of his many nicknames. And he's a former Roman Catholic priest that he's written a lot of books on sex coaching way back when that was like not something that was common, a part of this where we're at now. And that just evolved. I mean, I went back and I went forth between navigating my own thoughts and understandings around sex, issues with guilt and shame, and dealing with that and healing from that. And eventually, uh, I embarked on a second career and went to massage school and fell in love with touch and the ability to heal through connection. So I started I re-dipped my toe in the water with that, and then that opened me up to learning about the body in different ways and learning about sensuality in different ways, and moving into sex work and then offering myself as a tool of sex work, as a person who could heal through sexuality before I knew anything further about healing through sexuality. That was just something that I started. I kind of stumbled upon the path really, to understanding the work that I was doing. And when I moved to Hawaii in 2005, I started learning about Tantra. I started studying Tantra, and I started going to little workshops here and there and classes and meetups and trying to find folks that were offering tantra. And mostly it was because when the sex workers were using it as code word, and I didn't realize that. So I got here, I was like, oh, let me learn some tantra, because that's what's for sale on Craigslist, and that just led me down a whole different path, which I'm very grateful for. But that's how it all started. I just started nerding out and reading books and learning and practicing and trying stuff on dates, and slowly evolving into this person and the practice that I have today.
Right. Awesome. And now so that's what you said is so important. People use tantra for other means,
Mhm.
so it's always so important. And I tell people, when you're looking for a tantric therapist, don't just go to anyone. You have to make sure you know who you're going to. Oh, it says Renee. Sorry, Renee, your voice is echoing off of Amina's computer when you speak. Amina is echoing a little too, but not as bad as you. Really, that's interesting. No. All right, I think
you know what it is? I need the
I don't know.
headphones on the phone. That's what the issue is. And I don't have I don't know, I'm not at home. I'm traveling, so I don't even know what suitcase headphones are in because I never wear them. So
Okay.
I'm trying to get this. Let me
Well, let me ask people who are on Instagram, can you come over to my YouTube and can we just do it on YouTube?
Yeah, let's just do it that way.
Yeah,
Your link is
I
in your
think it'll be
bio.
better. Yeah, so everybody on
Yeah.
Instagram, let me just write this here. Come over to my YouTube, which is Pandava Prim.
It's also on Facebook.
Yeah, it's also on Facebook. Guys on YouTube and Facebook, please bear with me 1 second. You can find me on YouTube at Pandava Prim or Renee. And there's so many people coming on Instagram. So sorry. Okay, so join me at Pandava Prim or Renee Adolphi on YouTube or Facebook. You can find us on either Amina or my Facebook. I'm Renee Adolphi on Facebook. So go there and to watch our live.
Okay, so I have you on my Facebook too, so follow there. I'm sharing you on my page.
Okay, perfect.
Okay. All right. Perfect.
All right. Bye on Instagram. So sorry. So we'll see you over on YouTube or Facebook. All right.
Okay. Well, let me turn this up now here so I can hear you on this side. Sorry about that. Yeah, I didn't.
Okay. So welcome back on, let's see this here. Hold on 1 second. Let me just share this on Instagram. Sorry, guys. Live. Okay. All right. So, this technology, the technology. Phil says, "Oh, now it's much better."
Yeah, they can just listen to you, and then they'll hear me in the background. So that's perfect.
Right. Okay. So if we can do, maybe let's do this because I also want to be able to do this on Instagram. So if you're good with time, maybe another day or after this one, we do it on Instagram. Maybe another day we do it just on Instagram. That way we can have,
let's come back. I'll schedule it and we'll publicize it a little bit more and do it on Instagram. That's fine for me.
Okay, perfect. All right, so so it's really important, like what you talked about in terms of, there are a lot of people who say they're tantric therapists, and basically they might just want to have sex. Like what comes to mind right now is Barney, right? The guy who used to play Barney, he's a tantric sex therapist now. And I don't know, he might be really good. I don't know. But it's like, just be careful. Just, I don't know what you think, and I would love to hear what you think. I don't personally feel that you have to go and have sex with a tantric therapist for healing. And so that's why I bring up the Barney. But it can help. It can do healing, but I don't feel like you have to do that. Like, I feel like there's so many different ways of healing through Tantra, like tantric massage, meditations, breath work, different things like that, tantric yoga. So I think if you're needing tantric sex healing, you could find someone who could direct you and your partner, to do that work. But what do you think about that?
So it's interesting because I have a bit of a different approach, right? Like first of all, when I read the article about our brother Barney, I was like, okay, so let me get this straight. And my biggest concern actually was this this transference of sexual fluids that because he doesn't wear, he's like, we can't have tantric sex if we're wearing condoms or something to that effect. So he doesn't use prophylaxis with his clients. And to me, as a sex worker, that is what got me like, come on, man. Everything else, though, for me, honestly, I think that there's space for all different types. And I think that it sometimes can be, I've worked with a lot of people who don't have access to a partner in this life and likely won't. I've worked with paraplegics. I've worked with people who are asexual. I've worked with folks who have other disabilities. And through that experience, my intimacy with them would have been their only real chance to be intimate with the partner. And I refer sex workers that I've trained with some tantric practices to that offer full service to be able to share a more spiritually grounded sexual experience with a client. And I think that is just as helpful. I think we, as Prince coined, the beautiful people, forget that this society is very hard for a lot of people that aren't traditionally beautiful and aren't walking through, with all the things that we celebrate, size and our hands and feet are full. I'm a very healthy person. I am mentally healthy as well. And those things allow me access to other humans and, without discrimination. Like I have my fair choice really in the world. I've never really been faced with much in regards to rejection or things like that. So I understand a need for it, and not just for that person, but I want to say that we must also acknowledge that person, and there's someone else too that could benefit then, if we can say that they all sex ain't good sex.
True.
Your partner may never be able to be guided. Does that person not deserving of love either? Maybe I want to stay with that partner, but I want to experience tantric sex with a professional. And for those, it's about the expansion. Don't come to my house looking for it, because I'm gonna tell you no. But I can direct you somewhere where you can experience it. And I think that that's really, really the biggest part of it, is that understanding like the sexual experience that we get as humans in this world is so vast, so huge. And it's so hard to like encapsulate into something that fits, swallows nicely. So
that's so true. That's so true. I'm glad you said that. That's true. And I think it was because I think reading that article about him made me kind of be standoffish about it. Because, when we were talking earlier, I told you I had read this book, Women of the Light, and I read about sex surrogacy.
Ordered it that day.
Huh?
I said I ordered it that day right after our conversation.
Really? It's a great book. It's a great book. And so the first time I read that about being a sex surrogate, and I was like, oh my God, this is amazing. You can heal someone, as a sex surrogate. So, and that book was actually just really good. It opened me up, because I think I started reading that book when I first started working with Tantra. Someone gave me that book, and it talked about it talks about 6 different women who are healers through sexuality, through sex work, different types of sex work. There's a prostitute, and there was the sex surrogate, which is not, So anyway, and I remember when I was in California last year, I met a couple of sex strippers, and they talked about how much their work was healing and how many men came in and they helped to heal them. And I was like listening to their stories, and I was like, this is so beautiful, so beautiful. And so, I definitely do see the value in that, and I guess, it was just, I think the whole Barney thing freaked me out. And honestly, I've done different courses on Tantra, and I've had some say when doing the tantric massage, to use gloves. And then I've had another course where they said not to use gloves, and because the gloves will take away value in that. I think it's echo or something right now.
I fixed it. Sorry about that.
Oh, okay. Okay. So, and I took another course where they said not to use gloves, because the same thing, like what Barney's saying, I guess, having that takes away from the energy and you can't heal the person. So honestly, I use gloves, but I have had situations where I haven't, based on the specific client and what's going on, and just trusting my intuition and that work. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, so there is a space, and I understand that. And I definitely know that there is a different thing when you're using a condom for healing and things like that. But there's a whole thing of protection, and
Right.
there's a lot that's out there, so you have
It's
to
not
be
just
safe.
not just physical protection either, and I think that's what really threw me for a loop with the
Hmm.
with the whole conversation. Is I was thinking, are we not studying the same study, because sexual fluids are so sacred, and the energy of that exchange
Hmm.
in this space where you're really working, not just as a sacred sex worker, but as a spiritual healer. If you're
Hmm.
acknowledging that as your path, how do
Yeah.
you ignore the idea that your fluids and their fluids are not something that you want to be protected from, or that you don't want to exchange? So that was, for me, that was where I was like, come on, Barney.
Right.
And also, the reality is, and I don't talk about that often, but I would be remiss to say that, like, to not say that when I finished massage school, I was very new to the concept of Western healing, but I was not new to the concept of healing. My mother was a master Reiki, or had made Reiki mastery since I was in high school. My family, has utilized alternative medicine in different ways, and so I knew that I was coming in with this, to something that was Western, that was supposed to be certified and teaching me. And then I started learning that a lot of what was happening really in the legislation, and at that time, it was not, you did not require a license in all 50 states. I think there were 13 states at the time, and now there's only 2, I believe, that don't require a license, and they just went back. And what was
Right.
happening was that ancestral healing ways were being whitewashed and taken away. But I get it, because I on one side of me, one little bitty piece of me can empathize a little bit in that, because there's this line of legality and illegality, hanging out in the gray area poses a threat to those who feel very protected by the laws that they enacted.
Hmm.
So people like, who are, licensed massage therapists by the state and by the national board, because they are unwilling to see and recognize healing that is not what they were taught in the book, then they can fight for their protections, only. They separate themselves and they say, well, this is not sensual at all. I'm not going to touch the buttocks. I'm not going to touch the inner thigh. I'm not going to touch these parts of the body unless I go get some more training and make it even more rigid and make it even less sensual. So that way there's no confusion. And that's what happens when you don't protect other people, because the choice that they had was to protect all types of touch that were trained and skilled and or ancestral and passed down, so that they could clearly identify what the work is that they were doing. When a tantric body worker then goes out and says, or a tantric healer goes out and says, well,
Hmm.
I have to have sex with my clients and I have to not use a condom, then people like you, or like I, who that is not our philosophy, understand and recognize the danger in that people may see that and then look to us and say, well, Barney's doing it like that. And so it's really important that, that we recognize, like, the root of the problem, which is colonialism and white misanthropy, because that's
Yes.
kind of where that's what we got here. And that
Hmm.
holding of the language and the words around healing, which then pits us all against each other, because he
Right.
should be able to say what he offers and I should be able to say what I offer clearly. But we have to
Hmm.
use coded language to stay in gray area. And that's really what the problem is. That's my real beef. It's not with Barney, it's with the man.
Right. Right. Exactly. Oh my God, that's so beautifully said. So beautifully said. So true. So true. And that's deep. And that's deep.
Yeah. It's challenging, you know, I mean, for folks like you and I that do the work to exist in our truth because of it.
Yeah. 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 It really is. It really is. And so so at one point, you know, when you were younger, you were a sex surrogate. And I want to, you know, what is that for those who don't know what that is?
Yeah, so it's just like it's like a baby mama surrogate. Instead of you having a baby, she having a baby. Instead of you having the sex, I'm having the sex. So when I was younger and I worked as a sex surrogate, I worked with a licensed clinical psychologist who was treating people, mostly men, who were suffering from sexual dysfunction that did not have a medical condition attached. So there was no, you know, they weren't on statins. It was a mental block to their sexual performance or ability to achieve erection or to feel safe enough with somebody to maintain an erection. There were no health implications that were physical. And so I worked with him, and when he, you know, got far enough with a client, then their next session would be with me, and we would attempt to have sex. It wasn't always the most successful because it was a healing program, and people don't just go see the good doc and get some good words and then show up and be like, all right, I'm ready. If it worked like that, he'd probably be way more famous, and I probably would have been too. That's not how it worked. So that's what it was. And I think for me, you know, it's really interesting. I was in college, I was young, but I didn't do it because I needed money. I had my father's death annuity. I was in the Army Reserves. I had a check coming in every month from drill. I was at the university. I was on scholarship. I got money back. It wasn't, and I also worked. I was working for Marshall Fields at the time. So I did not need any more money. I was interested and I was curious, and I really wanted to be an exotic dancer at the end of the day, like in my heart. But if y'all ever see me twerk, you know why I didn't get that job. So I was just looking for a space where sensuality will live. So I hung out on the back page all the time. The back page is like before, not the internet ones. This is with paper. We used to call it the back page. And the back pages had, you know, that's where you went when you looked for an apartment. And that's where you went when you looked for a happy ending massage or exotic dancers, coupons for the club. That was all in the last like 4 pages of the reader. So the back pages. And so I would go and look through those and be on the train and fantasizing and daydreaming about what sensual thing I would be doing. And then I found that. So it just happened that way.
Yeah. So it's so funny because, you know, I've actually had, you know, quite a few clients that I've done the tantric massage with, the tantric therapy. And I get a lot of men who come because of premature ejaculation, you know. So we do the work and I'm like, okay, great. Like we get to the point where I'm like, okay, yes, they got us, you know, they can last longer. They're not coming after like 10 seconds. And I've literally thought of, it would be nice to actually see the next level now and see if they really have done the work. Like, you know, if I had sex with them. So I see the healing and that whole process, you know, like them starting off with the psychiatrist, doing the psychotherapy, doing all of that work, and then going on and working with a sex surrogate, you know, to really get to that point to be able to actually have sex with someone else or with their partner, or be able to see if, you know, they've worked through the psychological blockages and now they don't have premature ejaculation anymore. So I've definitely thought about that. And it's so interesting because, go ahead.
No, I did. Sorry to interrupt, but I think you're right. I think that's the next level. That's, I mean, what is next other than that?
Right. And I think for me, one of the things that I thought about as well with that is I'm an empath, and I take on energy a lot. So it's like, how do you now, if you're having sex with the different clients, how do you not take on their energy, or you cleanse yourself of that? Obviously there's ways, but that was a big thing for me, because I have to do a lot, even just after a session, like a massage, like cleansing, because I take it on.
I think that's one of the things that led to me leaving that so early on, is I didn't have those tools yet. Like now I have those tools, but now I don't need them as much. But I mean, I still need them. I'm not going to say that. There's still such an energetic exchange in my work that is heavy. And I don't think it would be that much heavier if there was barriered sex. It's just that I'm not, I'm at a different space for myself in my practice. It's not to say that I wouldn't consider, because I'm like you, if I got somebody to the point and I'm working with them and we build up this experience, then to me the next logical step would be practicum. Moving into a space where you are able to. So I'm not saying that that's not anything that I would do. I don't want to just miss the work of anybody that does that as well. But just knowing that you can get somebody to a space where they can be, where they're able to release more than ejaculate, where they're able to actually move into their body. I think that the impact of that energetically still requires as much of a cleanse as any sexual experience does.
Right.
And I think that's like, no matter where you go in this work, if you're working with sexual energy, this really super powerful source of energy that we have as humans, then you need to work on your on your spiritual part of yourself, so you can cleanse your body, cleanse your aura, cleanse your channels as much as possible anyway.
Yeah.
So
true. And so I was also fascinated about, so you also at one point, when you left, you became, you have some family Muslim, and you became Muslim.
So when I was already Muslim, believe it or not, when I was rolling around with the good doctor. I just wasn't, I was kind of a like go to the mosque on Eid Muslim. I wasn't pray 5 times a day Muslim. I was like, there's a party, there's a, like an akika or like a baby shower or something like that, I'm gonna put on my veil. It's gonna start right here with a hairpin. I'm gonna have my hairstyle. So I was, and I was wasn't with the Sunni Islam sect at that time. Also, I was with the Ahmadiyya Muslim community. And so so when I started practicing, when I started working as a sex surrogate, after a while of that and some other things that were going on in my life, I mean, I was, in a space where I was dating. I had a few women. I had a few female lovers at the time. And so I was in this bit of a love triangle, and I had this work going, and I had all kind of stuff that was, the guilt and the thought, like, I'm queer, I'm sex working, I'm doing this. And I think it all eventually just with lack of understanding. I was so young looking back, that I said, this ain't it. And I need to go sit my ass down and pray somewhere. And I did. I went, and one of my, I met my best friend that year. I think it was 98. I think we've been best friends since 98, somewhere around there. And at UIC, at University of Illinois, Chicago campus. And I went to the mosque with her and her Egyptian family and started praying, and we started doing, going to different events, and I started wearing the veil, and I was like, I felt safe. I felt safe from myself and just the sexual energy that I did not know what to do with. I didn't know what to do with it. It was there. It wasn't going anywhere. But I just felt like I was mishandling it and covering it up, and putting on a jalbab or abaya, and wearing hijab, wearing the face veil, and just being smaller, making myself smaller, felt safe for me at the time. And I got married, and Daddy, I didn't like that. I didn't like none of what was happening. That was not where I wanted my sexual energy to be. I didn't want it to be shared like that. I was like, this is not it. And it was, I wasn't marrying someone that I'd fallen in love with. I was marrying someone that I was to grow to love. And I said, this ain't gonna work. And he knew. He knew because he was extremely jealous and fearful of me leaving, and he should have been, because there was no way that was going to last. But anytime that he saw me around men, I think that he saw something in their reaction. This is even with me covered, and I think it in many ways drove him a bit insane. Especially, I could say that because that's the only ex in my life that I'm not friends with. But there was a period where I sat thinking I was unsafe again, and that he had lost his everlasting mind. So we got divorced. He moved away, married someone else, and I hear. So that's what the rumor mill has told me. And I went and moved away and took care of myself too. I had another minor marriage in there, but I decided that was it. Went to massage school after a few years of that life. When I say a few, I mean like 7, because I didn't go to massage school till 2003. I went to massage school. In 2005, I moved to Hawaii. So that was all in Chicago.
Okay. So sorry. Someone is writing these notes, DG, and I thought it was my friend Diane Gogamu, because she's always like, my future wifey playing around. She has a boyfriend. And she's like, my future wife. So I'm like, hearts to my wifey, and then he's like, I'm a man, your future hubby. So I have no idea who that is. I thought it was someone else. DG, I don't know who you are. So hi Carlene, hi people who's coming on, and we had an Egyptian Muslim who was on here, so she understands what you're talking about, I'm sure. So all right, so Tayshana said she already followed you because I put follow Amina on this. Jata Shrink says, yes, I feel you not knowing what to do with all that sexual energy and feeling like you were mishandling it and trying to tamp it down. It's been quite a journey learning how to use all that as a sexual healer. Yeah, it really is. What gave you the strength? Because to really stand in your truth, in what you really wanted for your sexuality, and not just go along with what you should have done. Not, be this good Muslim girl, be married to this guy, and have the family and kids and all this. But because there's so many women today who are in relationships, whether they're Christian or not, where they're not able to live the sexual life or express their sexuality like they want to. So what helped you to be able to do that?
For me, I think knowing, having experienced pleasure, and then moving into a space where pleasure exists with such a challenge. And this has been many spaces, not just me as a Muslim, not just me. This is me in corporate. This is me, and I was a personal trainer for a long time. So me working in the fitness world. It's not just speaking to my religious background, but also just me as a Black queer woman in this world. Anytime I've tried to conform and fit into a box or fit into a way that I'm supposed to be better received, it's never really worked out for me. Right. It never felt good. It never offered me any pleasure. And I found myself mentally just not feeling grounded, not really happy, and then searching for happiness and doing things to my detriment that were in this search for happiness, because of my real belief that it must be outside of myself, because I'm doing everything right and I can't find it within. I'm doing everything according to how it says to be done, but I can't find that happiness inside anywhere. And so for me, I think realizing that, being, an analytical enough person where I'm looking And okay, so when I'm doing the stuff according to how I want to do it, things get, I'm fine. But I have shame and I have guilt and I can't tell everybody that I'm happy. But when I do everything that's supposed to make me right, then I'm miserable, I'm unhappy, and I'm miserable is a big word, but I'm definitely unhappy, and I don't want to be there. I want to be on the happy side. And so for me, I think just navigating that part alone was so monumental for me. I remember when I first visited Hawaii, got here, and I could smell the air. When you land in the tropics, the air is so different. And here in Hawaii, it's so clear. The air it's not like a lot of other places in the Caribbean, or like the breezes and the flowers and everything. And I remember thinking, I don't get to smell happiness at home. Like where I live, I'm not even experiencing happy smells. What am I doing with my life? Like, how is this happiness is available? I'm choosing something else. Why would I do that? Why would any religious deity ask that of me? Why would any religious deity ask that of me? And fill me with sensuality, fill me with the ability to see, taste, smell, hear, speak, like all these things, feel. And then when I do it, I feel bad. So I just started reevaluating my whole experience. And luckily, the Tantra ads in Hawaii led me to Buddhism, which allowed me to really go inward and stop looking outside for happiness, which really allowed me to learn how to choose. Because I think before that point, I wasn't having any orgasms. I was coming. I was reaching climaxes. I was having sexual peaks, and they were like, it was like a rubber band snap. You know what I mean? Like now my orgasms are like a balloon. It's different.
Yes. And let me tell you, I want so many people to experience that, because I'm telling you, like, and this is why I love my work. Like, I really do. Before, I used to have a private practice. I was a psychotherapist, and I love my work. Like, it was good helping people. But now I love my work, and I don't consider it work. Because it's like, once you feel that pleasure and your orgasm expands and you're multi-orgasmic, and you're sitting for minutes or hours or even like up until the next day, and you're like vibrating in that energy and that pleasure, it's like, I want everybody to experience that. And when I first got into Tantra, it wasn't really about, it wasn't to go work with other people. It was to work on me, because I had my issues, my blockages. Like, I've had sex, like you were saying, I've had sex, and I came, I would squirt, like all of that, the 9 yards. But I was empty. Like, I would have sex and I would feel empty afterwards. And I would just like, I didn't have that pleasure all over my body. I don't know. It just wasn't that same connection. And so when I knew something was missing, I knew something just that there had to be more, and living in a Tantra community for 2 years here in Brazil, doing the tantric meditation, tantric yoga, tantric massage, and the eye gazing, all of that stuff. It just took me to a whole nother level. We weren't even allowed to have sex when I lived on the commune, because they really wanted us to be able to really just channel that energy and learn how to work with that energy. And so, but then once I got into a relationship, my partner was also tantric. It was just like, whoa. And I was like, okay, I got to help more people get to this point. I have to help more people feel this pleasure and experience this.
Right.
So a couple of comments, right? Ziakia, and I hope I'm saying your name correctly, wrote
Zykia.
2 powerful women. Zykia, thank you. 2 powerful women. Both your stories so inspiring. Thank you so much. Jen says she missed Hawaii and you. Zykia says, pleasure is life, something so many are deprived of. And one last comment I got to share right now that's so hilarious. I love this. Thank you so much for this conversation and standing for all of us fellow sacred whores.
Yeah.
Yes. Awesome, awesome, awesome. Loving this, loving this. And so, I think a fairy home mother is on here, Tayshanda. Tayshanda. She's also Buddhist, and you talked about Buddhism. I'm also Buddhist. So, how did that work? How did you, if you could go a little bit more into how you found Buddhism? Um, I know you said, it's more open, but just, yeah, can you share a little bit more about that?
Yeah, I think it's funny when I first when I first found, like, it's there's been little moments here and there, right, where just eye opening for me with Buddhism. But what it was, I think, at the root of it is that I was deep in the throes of swimming into this dark space where atheism exists, the absence
Right.
of any deity, right? So this is moving beyond everything else and not even seeing a deity in myself, just abandoning it all. And when I started learning about Tantra, where I started hearing about Tantra, I went and got books on Tantra. And so one of the books that I got was Patanjali Sutras, and one of the books that I got was Urban Tantra. And they are two totally different books from two totally different worlds. And I didn't, I didn't know that there was a difference at the time between what we call Neo Tantra and Tantra Yoga and Hindu Tantra and Buddhist Tantra. But a lot of the books that I ended up getting just were more Buddhist in orientation. So it really, for me, it was really just, I was really called to this idea of non-attachment. And seeing how I just like, I mean, when I tell you I moved to Hawaii, it was like 2 weeks I gave
Hmm.
myself. I went home. I got rid of everything in the apartment. I, rented my place out to my friend, packed a box, and jetted back to Hawaii. So I had detached from everything, and it was freeing at 28 to be moving into this island place with just a couple boxes of clothes. And then I started learning about non-attachment and what that looked like in other ways. And I think all of this, there's just divine timing, because all of this was one thing after the next that just added up to me being more open and receptive
Hmm.
to the concept of Buddhism, to the concept of living as much of a harm-free life as possible,
Yeah.
to the concepts of removing desire from my life, and really moving into that practice. And coming from the community of Muslims that I was around, there was already a lot of chanting and dhikr. So understanding and feeling good about chanting, that all was very helpful for me. So it was
Hmm.
all, I didn't have the fear of like, well, this is another language. What am I saying? Because I really just felt like the vibrational quality of the words were enough for me, and they were. And so
Hmm.
that's kind of how it works for me. I'm not affiliated with any Buddhist sect. I,
Hmm.
I, and I don't think I will ever be. I really have had my fair share of sectarian practices. I just am living a life that is really rooted in Buddhist principles, and
Hmm.
that's all I got.
Yeah, yeah. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. And I say that a lot too. Like, I feel like I'm so open where I live in a Buddhist temple right now. I live in a Japanese Buddhist temple, Zen. And I love the philosophies, but like I'll go to condom lay ceremony. I'll go to I'll do ayahuasca. I do a lot of shamanic work. Ayahuasca, San Pedro, peyote, done it
Mm-hmm.
all. And I'm just open to what I'm feeling I need at the moment. You know,
Yep.
and I think that everything is connected, and I think that everything has its place. I'll go to church too. Like don't I don't have anything against Christianity. I believe in Christ. I believe in God. I believe in many, many gods and goddesses. But so yeah, I think that it's for me, like, I believe I love the principles of Buddhism, and this is where I'm at right now. And
Mhm.
when I first came to live here in a Buddhist temple, It was supposed to be temporary, and I've been here 2 years. And I had an interview with the monk, and he said, "What do you do?" And I said, "I do tantric. I'm a tantric therapist." And he's like, "Oh, tell me more." So I told him everything. I do tantric massage, I do tantric sessions, and all of this stuff, tantric therapy. And here where I live, we have an office space where we could do work, healing work, Reiki, whatever. And he was like, "Well, you can work here too if you want." And I was like, "Really? I can?"
Yeah,
He's like,
that's
"Yeah,
dope.
you're doing healing work, right?" I was like, "Yeah." And I guess in my mind, I was so kind of used to how closed off Christians can be, and like, "What are
Mhm.
you doing? What? You're touching people?" And he was just so open. I was like, I found my place. I found my tribe, and
Yeah.
I just loved it. And a lot of the times, when we have our satsangs, our dharma satsangs, the dharma talk. I'm thinking of India now with the satsangs, but when we have our dharma talks, um, I like completely agree with what he's saying, and it's like, oh my God. And I didn't even know that at this time when I came here that Buddhism, there was Buddhism rooted in Tantra as well. And so not until later did I start learning about the Tibetan Tantra, Buddhist Tantra. And even
Right.
in Zen, it had um, some roots in Tantra as well. So it's been interesting to see that. So we have a couple of questions. Destiny says, we have one for you and one for me. Destiny says,
Okay.
"Hey Renee, how can you explain when being in deep connection with spirit is better than any sex you ever had?" So for me, like when I've had just traditional sex, like regular sex, it's good. You enjoy it. But when I'm in a deep connection, like when I've had someone and we've actually done the tantric sex, or it doesn't even have to be just a tantric sex, but a deep connection, and we're looking into each other's eyes, we're breathing together, and we're very conscious, and we're present in our bodies in that moment and what's going on, and not off in a fantasy world.
Right.
Feels beautiful, like it's divine. Like I really feel like I'm in heaven. I'm connected to God, like that God feeling. I don't even know how to describe it, but it's different. It's different. And you and your partner, it feels like nothing else is there. Like you're dissolved and it's one, and you're in this blissful, like almost like meditative state where you're not in your mind, you're not thinking the monkey mind, like the Buddhists say, you're not thinking about what you're gonna do, what you're gonna wear, like, or how you look. It's just, it's just divine. It's just beautiful. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So what about for you?
I, I think, well, for me, I had an experience with toad medicine, the Bufo alvarius, and when I came back from that journey, in that moment, I realized what exactly I was experiencing in orgasm. And I think that when you move into a space, so many of us get it confused because somebody else told us what an orgasm was, right? And they really were pointing to a male experience. So, what we know about orgasm is based on the limited experience of a portion of half of society, and that has been the defining word about what an orgasm was. And an orgasm is not a thing that happens; it's a place that you go, it's a place that you exist in. And we all have that space for us to exist in as we start to expand into our body, as we come into our body and expand outward. And that is something that I think you truly can experience with in that deep connection with yourself or with a partner, where you are move beyond the sight that you have in this world that you're used to using every day. You move beyond the touch that you used to using every day in this world. And you move into a space that's so much larger than any of that. And you're vibrating at that frequency, at the frequency that's higher than self, higher than what you're walking around, used to walking around with. It teaches you, it shows you how amazingly divine you are. That is connecting you to source. To me,
Yeah,
there's nothing more that's going to connect me to source than moving into that state, whether I'm with a lover or without a lover, because I can create orgasmic energy like that with by lying in the
yeah,
sun. However, but that's what it is. It's moving into that orgasmic space. And I think that the vibration that we share with a partner then amplifies that. So it
Yes.
really allows us to move into it, like to really understand what God means, what does the
Yes.
concept of God means. You get to
Yes.
move through that space. And so
Yes.
to me, that's the most powerful thing that there
Mhm.
is. I can have other experiences, but nothing will ever come close to what I've learned to experience through the power of sexual energy and
Yes.
transmutation of that.
Yes. And I love how you said, how you can feel that just lying in the sun. And that's one of the things that happened with me post Tantra, right? Being able
Mm-hmm.
to feel that pleasure, that joy, not only in a relationship or through having sex, like at any time, different things, dancing, eating
Right.
something that's great. I've actually had partners too where we're lying and we're talking, or we might just be, rubbing on each other, and it becomes orgasmic and we feel so much pleasure. And I go into a full body orgasm. So,
Yes.
yeah, so there's so much that we can experience and feel that just traditional sex you may not,
Mm-hmm.
and I'm not saying just traditional sex is bad, like, all you need, because sometimes I have just traditional sex, sometimes I just want to fuck. you know
Right. And that's good too.
hmm and that's good too. So, all right, and a question for you: has it been hard to do your work in Hawaii? It's a beautiful place, but it didn't feel like Black women were considered as objects of desire there.
Um, I guess I should start by saying I started my practice here, so I don't know if they missed that part, but um, I I started my practice here in Hawaii, and I didn't have a hard time at all. But I know that that is only the case because I don't allow that to happen. So when I
Mm.
walk into a room, I command the room. It doesn't matter where I'm at. I could be in Japan where there are no Black women, or I can be on the island of Oahu, or I can be in Nigeria in a room full of Black women. I'm still going to move with the same energy. I lead from my heart when I walk. I walk in leading from my heart, and I have opened myself up to creating space for other people to feel that energy. So for me, no, not so much. I do know that that is not something that everyone has access to just yet. I'm working on teaching the world, but but it is. It could be, but I think I think that it also could be just as challenging in Atlanta. I'm a 43-year-old Black woman with no six pack and half a ass serving if you compare it to the women in the A. I didn't get all the booty that everybody else got, and so I could go forth and think, well, I'm not going to make it here either. This is not going to work here either because I don't have. I'm not seen as an object of sexual desire. I think for me, it's very different when I know that what I got some of what you need. So I don't
hmm
have to, you don't have to desire a Black woman. You desire what I have. You desire womanhood. Womanhood started with the Black woman. So you can't get beyond that. So that's what, for me, that's how I move in life.
Yes, yes, yes. Command the space, command the room. I love that. I love that. Wow, this was so good. This was really, really
This
good.
was. This was. I could stay and talk to you all day. I would, and I want to. I want to come down to Brazil and hang out and talk to you as much as possible.
Yes,
However, I have a client that I have to get to today.
yes.
I'm working. So I thank you for having me on your show. Thank you for coming and chatting with me, for getting to know me,
You're
and for allowing me to
welcome.
get to know you. I appreciate it.
Yes, thank you for coming. So, this was beautiful, and have a great session with your client. Thank you so much for coming on. You guys can follow Amina at ATL Tantra or you want to give your stuff or anything that's coming up?
Yeah, so ATL Tantra, if you put in ATL Tantra, Atlanta Tantra, whatever mix of it, you will find me on Instagram, Facebook, um, Twitter, LinkedIn. Just look for it that way. So that's the best thing to do. If you're on Instagram, come at me. We're gonna continue this conversation on Instagram this week. So
Yes, we will.
so absolutely come holler at us and come follow both of us, and so we can chat some more.
Yes. All right. Thank you. Love you. This was great. Have a good
Thank you.
one. Bye. Yes. So those of you who are still on, let me just give a nice close out because this was long. This was an hour, so it did really, really, really well. Thank you guys for being on and watching us. Please subscribe to my YouTube if you haven't. Hit the notification bell so that you can receive messages. I got videos coming out all the time. This month for May, Masturbation Month, I have a series. I've had some amazing sisters on, amazing goddesses like Amina on, talking about sexuality. This Wednesday, I have someone else coming on. So be on the lookout for Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then let's see here. Who's coming on? I think I have. Let me just see. I have Lydia coming on, your pleasure strategist. She's going to be on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, talking about ways to improve your relationships, talking about sex toys and how to have pleasure, and even more on sacred sexuality and masturbation for Masturbation Month. So join me on Wednesday. Check out my YouTube channel. Go back and look at my previous videos, and join me on Patreon. Patreon at Renee Adolfi or Prandata Prim. I have great little topics, informational guides, so that you can learn more about Tantra. We're doing meditations. I got videos coming up. I got self-exploration Sundays, Masturbation Mondays, and Tantric Tuesdays. So we got some great stuff. So join me there. Trudy says, this is good. Thank you. Brian says, thank you. Very nice content and information. Thank you. Trudy, Ashe, bless you too, goddesses. Thank you guys for coming on. Love you guys, and see you on Wednesday. Bye.